Hi guys, and welcome to second semester Algebra 1 class. We're going to go ahead and jump straight in with Chapter 8, and we're going to start in the first section of Chapter 8. Now we're going to save the adding and subtracting of polynomials for tomorrow. Today we're going to just really focus heavily on vocabulary. So our first vocabulary word that we need to know is the word term. Terms are numbers and variables that are being multiplied together. Terms are separated by adding and subtracting signs. If something only has one term, it's a monomial. For something to have only one term, there would be no adding or subtracting anywhere in the problem. Here's an example of a monomial, 2x. So it's 2 times x, they're multiplied together. No adding or subtracting, that's considered one unit. If something has two terms, it's called a binomial. That would have one either adding or subtracting sign in the problem, like this. In this problem, my terms are separated by the plus sign. So my first term would be the 2x, and then my second term would be the 5. If something has three terms, it's called a trinomial. This time it would have two, either adding or subtracting, or a mixture of both. So here's an example of a trinomial. 2x squared plus 5x minus 8. So the plus and the minus is what separates out the terms. And then anything that has more than three terms, we just kind of group all under the word polynomial. Poly means many, so this means it has many terms. So we don't have any special words for anything that's bigger than three, so you can just use the word polynomial for that. Here's an example of a polynomial with four terms. Next, let's talk about the degree of a monomial. So a monomial, remember, is just one term, so no adding or subtracting. So when you're looking for the degree of a monomial, you're going to add together all of the exponents that are on your variables. And here's an example. So in this example, I only have one variable. I just have the letter x. So my degree is just going to be the exponent on the letter x. So that would be the number 4. Here's another example where there's only one variable. There's just the letter t. Now, I don't see an exponent on the letter t, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have an exponent. It has an invisible exponent of 1. So if you have a variable that does not have an exponent written with it, it has the number 1. So the degree of this is 1. Here's an example with multiple variables. In this example, I will be adding the 3 exponents together, the 1 from the x, the 2 from the y, and the 2 from the z. And so my degree is 5. Finally, here's an example with no variables. Now, very specifically, a degree is the exponent on a variable. Since there are no variables in this problem, that means that the degree is 0. We don't take the exponent off of the constant, off of the number. It has to be off of a variable. So when there are no variables, you say the degree is 0. Now, these were all for monomials, but we have different rules if it's a polynomial. So when you're trying to find the degree of a polynomial, you find the degree of each individual term, and then you choose the biggest one. So this is very similar to what we were just doing on the previous one. So you're going to take each individual term and find the degree, and then just pick the biggest one for your final answer. So here in our first example, this is a trinomial. With a trinomial, you're going to find 3 different degrees, one for each term, and then you're going to choose the biggest number. So looking at our first term, 2x to the third, y to the sixth, that has a degree of 9, 3 plus 6. For our second term, 7xy, I'm going to add the invisible 1 from the x with the invisible 1 from the y, so that's 1 plus 1, and that has a degree of 2. So again, we're looking at each individual term. For our last one, I'm going to add together the 4 from the x with the invisible 1 from the y, and 4 plus 1 is 5. So now I have 3 numbers to choose from, and I just need to choose the biggest one, which is 9. And so the degree of this polynomial is the number 9. That's our final answer. Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can figure out the degree of these 2 polynomials, and then unpause when you're ready to check in. All right, let's see how you did. So for the first one, I got a degree of 3. First one was relatively easy because there was not multiple variables in each term. So it just really took the highest exponent that I saw. That would be the 7x to the third. Okay, so this is 3, 2, 1, 0. 3 is the biggest. Now number 2 is a little bit tricky. Number 2, the first term and the last term actually have the same degree because the first term is a 1 plus 1, and the last term is just straight up the number 2. But those are both the same number, and so you can just put 2. In that second term, it has a degree of 0, so that's not the biggest one. This concludes our first video.